Good evening. Marina Abramović is one of the most important figures currently in the art world. She recently did a talk in Belgrade, the city of her birth, where she'd not had an exhibition since she was a student, and did a talk for 6,500 people. So the intimacy of 272, but the thousands who are joining us for live streaming will make her feel very much at home. She, as Christopher said, was made an honorary Royal Academician in 2011. What he didn't say was that she has even more medals than he does. She's been honoured by 15 countries to date and counting. She was really the first of the pioneering generation of performance artists who were accepted, embraced by, and allowed to subvert the institutional museum world. And since then, she's shown in almost every major institution around the world. But next year, she becomes the first living female artist to take on the main galleries at the Royal Academy. And in a way, that's the distant frame that we're looking forward to that will inform this talk. What she's going to talk about is many things, but actually the past, the present, and the future for performance art in general and her art in particular. She was told that timing was critical tonight, and she's brilliant at timing. She did 736 hours at the Museum of Modern Art, continuously, well, over 84 days with the public, 512 hours at the Serpentine. She's been told an hour tonight. We said 45 minutes, then conversation with me, and she said, no, I'm a communist. We do 30 minutes of me, 30 minutes conversation. Anyway, we'll see how that works out. But without further ado, please welcome to the stage for the third Rothschild Foundation lecture, Marina Abramović.
Thank you. This kind of introduction, I should be dead already. So, in 30 minutes, I'm really going to rush through my life. And the first thing I want to tell you is, it's so complicated to talk about performance art because such a particular form of art. It's not a stand-up comedy, it's not a dance, it's not a theater. Performance art is what, if I can have explanation, I could say the performance art is a mental and physical construction that you made in specific time and space in the front of audience, and then energy dialogue will happen. So in performance, knife is real knife and blood is real blood. So you're not, oh, hello. Nice seeing friends here, it's so nice. So I will start immediately because really not much time. So the first thing that I want to tell you is really the beginning of my career when I was reckless, I was fearless, and I really want to experiment everything. So this is a performance called Rhythm Zero, which I made in Naples, and I was 23 years old. I have all these objects on the table, including the gun with the one bullet. I ask public that I'm object, and you can use anything on me as you wish for 6 full hours. It was a really dangerous thing to do because I relate everything to the public and I want to see how far public can go and what they can do to you. In the beginnings, in the first hour, 2 hours, it was people use soap, cake, bell, the shoes, the chair, so very harmless things. And then later on, they really start being very, 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 very aggressive. They will cut my clothes and they will give me a rose, but they will take pins of the rose and stop in my body. They will hold me around the space, put me on the table, spread my legs, and put the knife between. The woman will will say man what to do to me, and they will take tears of my eyes. So this went for 6 hours, and it was long. On the end, somebody took the pistol, somebody else took the pistol away for him, there was a fight, and after 6 hours, when the guy was over at the time that I want to do performance, and I was not object anymore, the galleries came to me and said 6 hours is over. So what I did, I started moving, but I was full of blood, full of the tears in my eyes. Somebody cut my neck and drank my blood. It was so incredibly too much. And I start being myself, and I start going towards public, and everybody ran away. Literally, everybody ran away. And I come to the hotel, and I look myself in the mirror, and I had a big piece of gray hair on my head. And I knew in that moment, yes, if you give the public possibility, they can kill you. So this was my first really realization how far you can go with the public. So, we're on the beginning. Wait, you just saw this. So, Imponderabilia was another important performance where in Bologna, in the Gallery Comunale d'Arte, we supposed to have the performance festival. And what we done there, we actually rebuilt entrance of the museum and be naked there. And anybody who want to go in between, they have to choose one or another eye. This was an interesting choice. He looked at Ulay, but he actually facing me. And then on the end of we're supposed to be there 6 hours, but after 3 hours, there came the police, all actually passed facing me, and then asked for our passports. I mean, which we didn't have. And so it was really interesting to create something which the artists adore of the museum. It was very poetical, actual experience, because, if there's no artists, there will not be museums. And so how to actually expand performance into the artists as a door of the institution. And this performance we're going to re-perform here in the Royal Academy, and it's going to be re-performed by young artists, and it's going to be entire time duration of the show. So already when we publicized this, we got so much the publications. Oh my God, the Britons really have the problem with nudity. It's a serious one. I don't know what's wrong with this. We're born naked anyway. So the Rest Energy, I'll just show you some pieces that would be part of the show. Rest Energies was a really important piece that Ulay and me did. This was the piece that was based on, there was a partner which I worked 12 years with him, till we separate each other on the Great Wall of China, walking each 2,500 kilometers, meeting in the middle and saying goodbye. But this piece was really about the trust, one person to another person. It's he's holding the arrow, who is facing my heart. Any wrong movement is all based on the weight, I can die. From the performance point of view, this was one of the shortest because I'm famous for long duration work. But this was only 4 minutes and 20 seconds. For me, it was lifetime. Okay, we go on with no time. Balkan Baroque was another important piece, which I in Venice Biennale got Golden Lion for performance. It was a time of war in Yugoslavia, and I wanted to react on that, and I wanted to do something which is strong and efficient and dealing really with the horrors of the war. So basically, I'm sitting on the piles of 2,500 cow bones, and I'm washing blood out of them. Everybody knows it's impossible to wash the blood. Wait a second. So that was the image. And I washed the blood for 1 week and 8 hours a day. And it was in the time in the central pavilion in the Venice, the Italian pavilion. It was in the cellar. The smell was unbearable. The worms was coming out of these bones. And I was doing this, the action. I wanted to create something which actually is the warning to the war, anywhere, anytime. So it was an image related to Balkan War, but can be also any war in any place. So this is a long story to tell you.
I like to tell you the story, how we in Balkan killed the rats.
Okay, so there is a long story. the story of how we in Balkan killed the rats, it was actually the core idea of the washing the bones. How we kill the rats in Balkan. We actually catch 30 to 40 male rats from the same family in a cage, and they're mostly rats. They don't eat people from their own family. But if they are not giving them any kind of food, the teeth are growing, and they're going to eat the weakest in the family, and then the weakest one, till all the rats are actually eaten, and only one rat is left. And then the rat catcher will look into that rat very carefully, and his teeth are growing. He's not in the ground, the teeth on, and give him the water. The moment they're going to suffocate, they open the cage, and they take the knife and pull out of his eyes, and then let him go. And the rat will run into the family, his own family, and kill every rat on the way, till the stronger and more powerful rat kill him. So this is how we in Balkan actually make wolf rat. So that was the strongest message I had for the Balkan Baroque. Wow. So then another important work who is going to be part of the show is this one, The House with Ocean View. I was interested in how I can purify myself to the point that I can purify space, that can purify the molecule of the space where I am, so that everybody, the public, will come in and feel the different energy of the space and stay there for long periods of time. To do this, I had 12 days without taking any food. I have large quantity of water, talking, not talking, singing unpredictable sometimes, so that I built these 3 units like that. And this was the 3 units with the ladders who go down, and the ladders are made out of knives, so you never can get down. So the first unit is the bathroom and the shower, which I took I only pee because I didn't eat, and take the shower, and then drink the water and lie on this wooden bed and take water from the ground. So that was a very important piece, where actually it was made in New York, and it was the piece that I really can relate to the public in a very strong way. I changed the color of the clothes, sometimes I got mad and just turned the furniture upside down, but the 12 days was a long period of time. I always stand on the top of the steps. For me, it was very important, the possibility that I can fall down, because in the performance, you can be in the space and in the front of audience, but physically, with the body, but with your mind, you can be in Honolulu or can be wherever. And the public is like a dog. They have sensitivity. They can feel fear. They can feel insecurity. So to me, it was really important, if I stand on the top, that I can fall any moment. My mind and my body was in one place. So I'm just showing you. The peeing was as important as looking the public, but that's a long story. I have no time to tell you. So the only intimity I have in this piece, when I was taking shower and actually drying myself with the towel, I had something like I could hold the towel almost till a minute long, so that I actually have intimacy and I was not, facing the public. Sometimes I would just walk around. Okay, so. The public will stand for a long period of time. In that time, we only have 12,000 people coming to see the show. But I have to say, in the beginning of my performance career, we had 10 people, 20. We have 6 people as my friends. There was no audience for performance. Now, at that time, it was 12,000. And then later on, in the Artists Present Museum in MoMA, we talk about 850,000. Then we talk about very large numbers later on. But it took me 50 years of my career to build that kind of audience, that we can have this kind of response. And now, House with Ocean View is being reperformed by young artists, because I wanted the possibility that young artists can reperform and go through the same kind of process of experience like me. So this was for me an extremely, emotional thing, to see this girl performing 12 days with no food. And that piece, she, done exactly this whole thing. But here, this was this transformation. This was here the transmission of one artist, older artist, to the young artist. When I'm actually looking her performing, I cry and she cry, and it was like one of these incredible emotional moments, because I knew, that there is actually another life of performance work. Because my the following friends, for performance art, they actually don't agree with me to that you can open the performance to be reperformed by the younger artists. They think that's their work and they don't give to anybody. And I found this is very selfish, because one day when your work have to have another life. Can't be just old photograph in the book and in the bad video installation. Have to have new life. And this is for me the way to get new life. So, of course, we go through very fast through these slides. Artist is present. I perform 3 months, sitting on one chair, 8 hours a day, every single day, and the 10 hours when museum is open till Friday longer. So I start first months with the blue, because it was a color to calm me down and put me into this energy state. Then I dress red, which gives me energy. It was so hard and difficult core work. And then white, which was purification. So here I have the audience was 850,000 audience, but 1,200 actually sit in the front of me. These people sit any amount of time they want. There was free time. They can sit 3 minutes or they can sit longer. I have a person who sits 7 hours with me in one day. So people was very emotional, and I was emotional. It was very strange, interesting that actually you sit on the chair, the people are waiting hours to can sit on the other side, and finally they come and sit in the front of you. They're filmed, they're photographed, they're observed by me, they're observed by audience. There's nowhere to go except to yourself. And then when they come to themselves, they come emotions. So this is the man who sits 7 hours with me. It was just incredible. He sit 21 times, and he spent 3 months being in the museum, and finally he tattooed number 21 on his wrist. So the last day, it was 17,000 people in the museum. And the moment I step up from the chair, everything changed. I understand that actually the performance is not anymore about me performing to the front of audience. I have to transmit knowledge to the larger audience. The audience have to be part of it. And then I create something called Abramović method, because I understand it's not only my experience performing in the front of public, but how I can actually make public performing, and they have their own experience to understand what performance is. So here, the public will come into the lockers and will leave in these lockers. They will leave the computer, the watch, and the telephone, and they will get headphones who block the sound. I will do some simple exercises. It was done in Milano, my first method exercise. And then they will go and stand actually they will perform. They stand in these units with the magnets. I call them the magnet towers. Then they will, have headphones completely block the sound. And that's the most important image of all, what actually consists of Abramović method. That the public is performing in the front of the public. Then the same public who is watching is performing. So it's a perpetuum mobile, which artist is not present, because they actually are doing themselves. They're actually turning into a circle. And then, if they don't see enough, they can use telescope for the bird watching, which actually can look the corner of the eye, the color of the skin. This is the basic position of human body: sitting, standing, lying. Here, she's sitting on the chair with the crystals, but the little chair is for the spirit. And if you not see the spirit that is sitting there next to you, is not my problem. But spirit is definitely there. So then I use lots of minerals and stones, which condense certain energy. But that's another story. Again, I can do a lecture about that. So they are the ones who actually, with the closed eyes, with the closed, they can't hear anything. They're in the front of audience, but they still have their own space for experience. Wow, so that's the complex chairs of the spirits. So this is lying position. So that method facilitators was very important. Facilitators are groups we are trained of young artists or different professions, even the people who actually facilitate experience to the audience. Because physically alone, I can't do myself. This was in Buenos Aires, this all facilitators. Wait. So they will go and they will actually help them in order to experience. This looks like it's so so emotional, because they will really go into these deep, deep emotional states. The slow motion walking was one of the very important exercises. And this was filmed just the public experience themselves, with nothing, with no help of anything. So basically, you give them a possibility, you give them kind of energetic space that their own emotions can take place. I mean, it looks highly religious, but was nothing religious there about. Slow walk is a very important part. This was done, the first one in Manchester, that actually one of the first Abramović method, also exercise in the gallery of Marina Abramović here, she actually slow walk. The idea was to create young performance artists, the event, which I will give the public exercise to prepare them psychologically and mentally and physically into experience something which is 4 hours. You know, 4 hours is not easy for public to stay and look at the performance. So then we slow walk, we extend to Abramović method, you know, how to walk very slowly. Counting the rice is another exercise. You have lentils and rice, you divide them and you count them. It takes hours. But again, if you can't count the rice, you can't make life itself also, because you have to have determination, willpower, and concentration. So there are different people counting the rice here, so they just show you fast. So this is one Swiss family. They sit there 6 hours counting the rice. Platform is very important. We've done some in Serpentine, we've done these platforms. They're just simple wooden platforms, but energetically they create the actually concentration of the public attention. So here, look in the colors, three basic colors, yellow, blue, and red. Each color to be looked for 1 hour. So I'm just showing the method. Mutual gaze, which we extend this for a long period of time. So we just go fast here. Beds, people lie in the bed, they're alone, but at the same time they're in the group. 512 hours. Here I will show you the platform, which is really important, blindfolds. So here we have, this is so important to me. These three people are three different generations with the completely, closed the headphone, they can't hear the sound, but they're standing there for hours. They will never do this in normal situation, but we give them actually the tools in order to come to themselves. This little kid is 12 years old. When he put the first time headphone, he said, but it doesn't work. Of course it doesn't work, because it was silence. The kid never heard the silence in his life. And then he started bringing the friends, and they all discovered the silence as a big deal. You know that we spoil kids with the games, with technology, with everything. Here is really a reduction of this whole thing and bringing them to the space of meditation and reflection. Okay, MAI is my institute who function in different countries. This is just been in Belgrade, and is going to Istanbul next. So they're the really project participation, which institute doesn't have the building, is virtual. So the story is don't come to us, call us, and we come to you. And then we do our program there, that we just saw it. So now I show you 7 minutes of something. Can we put the light down? We are really in time. Tim?
My relation to Brazil started so long ago.
Switch my light off, please. My light out.
I went to the mines just looking for idea. I actually want minerals to tell me what to do. When I asked miners if I could just sit on the chair deep in the mines or lie in the bed and let me alone there for a long period of time until I wait for an idea, they think I was completely crazy. When I told them that I got an idea to make shoes out of amethyst, huge minerals weighing 70 kilo, they could not believe. How can walk in these shoes? They asked. I was telling them, but these shoes are not for walking. These shoes are for mental departure. I don't think we need art in nature. Nature is so perfect already without us. We need art in the cities. We need art in the cities which human beings don't have any time. In the cities they are polluted. In the cities they have too much noise. We have to take experience from nature and transmit it into the cities. I always believe that the function of art is a function of bridge. To bridge different people from different social backgrounds. Different religious beliefs. Different races. But it's also about communication between physical world and the spiritual world. Or just simply between two human beings. I think this trip was very important to me. Not just to get new ideas, but also to open my mind into something different. After I come back, somehow the puzzle came together in a very clear and bright image. I understood that I have to give tools to the public to experience their own self. I have to just blend in. I have to be like a conductor. Because I'm always performing in the front of the public. I'm engaging with the public. The public is my mirror. And I'm the mirror of the public too. Everybody have trauma. Everybody have loneliness. Everybody have fear of death. Everybody have pain. I'm giving part of myself, and they give me part of themselves. The only way they can understand in much profound level, what performance is they make their own personal journey. I am removing myself completely from the public. Public is the work. In the front of me is a cave, and I'm going to explore.
Thank you. We are 1 minute over the 30 minutes. Wow, I'm sorry, I'm not on time. For Tim.
I'm not. I'm exhausted. It's really, you have this capacity, Marina, to conflate time. I mean, we felt we had a lifetime in the first 26 minutes, and then there's that wonderful sense of you breathing out, and we meditate, and we go into the film. And there's so many things to ask you, but one of them is this idea about removing yourself, because I can see that as both an aspiration and something that has to happen in the future when you're no longer here. But of course, you're such a powerful physical, emotional, spiritual presence, and people want you and they want your presence. So is there a contradiction for you there?
Yeah, but I'm going to die one day. So what are we going to do? We have to think about what's going to be left, you know. And the left is through the energies, through the young audience, young artists, where they carry these ideas. And then also through the augmented reality, of course.
We'll talk about augmented reality in a minute. You made it clear that when you, in 1975, did that piece in Naples, Rhythm Zero, where you handed yourself over to the audience and they could have done quite literally anything, and they did to a certain extent. That was obviously a key moment. But there was a time in 2005 when you were showing at the Guggenheim, and instead of showing your work, you asked to re-perform 7 works by 7 performance artists in a piece called 7 Easy Pieces. That felt like a major transition. Do you want to just talk about that a little?
I asked also to perform this piece, and every lawyer in America will forbid me, so I could not do it because of the presence of pistol and all other, problems. 7 Easy Pieces came out of really my frustration and anger that the performance work is being reproduced in MTV, with the theaters, with the films, with the design, with the fashion, with the advertising on television, and they will take images of our really hard work. They will, put new label on this and then present like their own work. And I was thinking it's so unfair because performance was like nobody territory at that time. And my generation, I don't know, my generation are pacemakers, they're sick, they have alcohol problems and so on. So not really functioning. And I feel like I am the one, I have to kind of bring some order there. So I actually said, okay, I'm going to perform myself 7 Easy Pieces, which of course the difficult ones from history of the performance art, which I didn't see personally, but I wanted to ask for permission of the artist, if he's live, if his foundation, if he's not, and pay for the re-performance, understand the material, and perform everything 7 hours. Just give another time. And I did this, and this was really like my contribution, how this thing should be done. And I think I helped somehow this mess about re-performance and open this whole area about re-performance.
Yeah, I mean, Pandora's box in one sense, a legacy in another. That Gina Payne, Valley Export, Bruce Nauman, Vito Acconci, and then
the Joseph Beuys.
Joseph Beuys. But Chris Burden didn't want you to re-perform one of his pieces. What was that conversation?
I want to re-perform Chris Burden piece called Transfix, which he crucified with the 2 golden nails on Volkswagen. And it was a kind of incredible, iconic piece. But then he didn't want me to perform, but he also didn't give me the reason. And then one day when I met him much later, he said to me, but why you didn't do it? Why you asked me for permission? I said, but you missed the whole point, that actually the permission is the key, that you are allowed to take an artist's work and to perform yourself. So nothing happened really.
So on one level, it's about control and ownership and a respect for the ownership of an artist's work and asking for permission and reperforming and having a control. But on another level, you've just talked about working with audiences, and in a sense you lose control. The audience takes over in some of the pieces.
But that's the whole thing that I learned through 50 years of my career, my dear. In Rhythm Zero, I put everything possible to be killed. But in Artist is Present, I didn't. I only put the chair, and there was totally control. So that actually I learned in my work that you can actually work with the low spirit of audience and get worse out of them, or we can give them elements that you actually get the highest spirit, that you elevate spirit of audience on the totally different level, but giving the different tools. It's all about tools and control.
Yeah. The Chris Burden piece you mentioned is extreme. The artist puts himself through an extreme situation. In a sense, you've bettered that, if that's what an aspect of performance art is about. I mean, Rest Energy we've just seen. If Ulay lets go or it slips, you're dead. I suppose we should just talk about the idea of pushing yourself to physical and mental extremities. Because one of the things in reperformance that you're not asking others to do are certain things that would put their lives in danger. Is that a barrier? Is that that's a boundary that you won't cross?
When a young artist asks me to reperform my work, I would never give permission, would give him life in danger, because it's only my own body that I have control of it. I never give permission for anything that will, put them in danger, ever.
Were those works, though, about seeing how far you could push yourself? And are you still interested in how far you can push the physical limits of your own body? Or at 73, are you finding that certain things are not possible? You see your limits and you have to respect them. You see that the energy, the performance, we are talking 7 easy pieces. I was 60 years old. The performance Artist is Present. I was 65 years old. I mean, it's pretty kind of far away to do this kind of work. And now I see more and more that audience is my tool, and to train the performance artists who do that work, and not myself anymore. There's an interesting, I say distinction, but it's blurred between audiences that queue to sit in front of you and the artist is present, or who want to take part, and those who are performance artists that you fully train. Again, that's another boundary, isn't it? That in some ways, any member of the public who's prepared to wait can take part in certain Marina Abramović pieces, but other pieces you want them fully trained, you want them to have undergone the method.
Yeah, because a big difference. Because in different exercises the audience can take, they don't need the expertise. But if you want to perform really the one piece of performance piece, it's the same like playing the violin. You can play really lousy Bach or you can play superb Bach. The performers have to have charisma, have to have this incredible presence in order to be able to do that. And that's something that we have I established the entire system, how they should be chosen, and then what goes through the preparation, the course we call cleaning the house. When you go with the young performance artist in the place which is or too hot or too cold, but never comfortable, and they are there 5 days without any food and not talking, and they do very heavy physical mental exercises to explore the limits of physical possibility, and they are the trained, and they are able to perform this kind of work. Otherwise, there's no point. I don't see the public doing that.
Collaboration's clearly central to what you do, although you are a singular figure as well. In the first part of your career, your successful career, you and Ulay collaborated. You made work together. You had the most spectacular and monumental final work, Breakup. You walked the Great Wall of China, each from one end, and allegedly met in the middle, and I think you won. And then that was the end of that relationship in that period of your life. Then you worked, I was going to say alone, in inverted commas, and now you're working in a whole manner of different ways, including being alone, but also with artists. Do you distinguish between the work you make alone and that which you've collaborated on with Ulay and that which you collaborate on with other members of the public or trained artists, or does it all feel part of an organic whole?
You know, which I really believe that artists have to be absolutely free human being and have to be able to make art out of dust, out of dirt, out of anything he touch. And I don't see any boundaries. You know, if I also been working with fashion, I've been working with the film, I've been working in video, photography, and using the objects. I mean, there is no borders at all. And this very important is concept. You know, concept requires certain collaboration, then you take collaboration. If concept require only working photography, then you do photography. So the concept is everything. And there is only two categories that in art that we can think of. And this is good art and bad art, and there's nothing else.
You showed Imponderabilia, which you and Ulay first performed, which is, I love your description, the artist being the gateway to the museum or the institution, and also the exit, I suppose. And you're right that there's been a lot of press in slightly prurient Britain, although we mentioned Maria Balshaw earlier, and it was shown in Manchester as well. But it's being shown in London, and the press have got, you know, the tabloids have already simulated it, and they're already getting excited in all sorts of ways about that piece being performed. One of the things that interested me was there was an immediate assumption in the liberal newspaper that we have left, The Guardian, in the letters pages, that it was...
Which one is that?
The Guardian, yeah. And they said there's letters saying it's typical of arts institutions that the cult of youth is being celebrated. What about the elderly? And we never said, and you haven't said, what age the performance artists will be performing Imponderabilia. But I thought it was interesting that they thought it must be the cult of youth.
Wait, this is so interesting. You know, in Amsterdam, which I lived for a long period of time, there was the government discussion when the prostitute should go to pension. You know, and there was like a big, the entire week discussed in Parliament this. And finally they decide the prostitute should go to pension exactly the same time as the pilots of fast planes, 45. So thinking about performance artists, I don't know. I think till really can do, it can go.
Well, I was about to say that's my career on the meat rack.
Because
knackered,
right now I'm performing in the theater piece, which is called in opera, you know, which I will be on the stage all the time, you know. And I'm 73. I mean, you know, it's not exactly I'm stopping.
No, and I want to come on to that, but I just want to make it clear that anyone in this audience or anyone watching online, whatever your age, if you want to apply to be one of the performers in Imponderabilia, whatever your age or profession, feel free to apply, is what we're saying, isn't it? Anyone, any age can do it. Yeah. So let's, you've mentioned your performance on stage, and this will also be a new installation, a filmed installation. 7 Easy Deaths. I think we can give a little away because people won't actually see it till it's performed, so we're only teasing. But just
a little bit.
Just explain a little, yeah.
Okay, I absolutely love Maria Callas. It's not that I have a big nose like her and then a bad mother like her and a few other similarities, and I'm Sagittarius like her and so on. But I really love her. And she died from broken heart for this real idiot Onassis. But she died from broken heart, and it was really for love. She just gave everything for love. And in my life happened something that I almost died from broken heart, but I didn't. I'm here. So I learned lots about that feeling and what that means. And in every opera, women die for something. Die from love, for the sacrifice, for the children, for the family, for whatever, all from broken heart. And you know, opera is such a dinosaur, such an old media, you know, and it's very difficult to touch and make something, reconstruct it and make something minimal and different. So, and mostly opera is 3 hours or 4 hours, I mean, it's a very long time. So what I did here, I actually cut it, everything to only dying scenes. So I'm only playing dying scenes. I'm playing, you know, in every opera, so I'm playing, you know, the whatever, consumption, burning in fire, jumping, karakiri, the heart attack, strangulation, knifing. So the operas are Carmen, Traviata, Tosca, Lucia Lammermoor, Otello, whatever, you know, these operas. So we only see. And on the end, I'm also playing myself, dying of Callas herself, which is actually 8 dead, but we're not talking about 8 dead. We're only talking about 7. And it's going to be in different opera houses in Europe, starting 11 of April in Munich. and then it's going to Berlin, to Paris, to Athens, to Florence, and so on.
But not
Hopefully
London yet.
coming
We're
here.
trying to find it. We're trying to find a house for it in London, but we'll acknowledge it in some form in the Academy. Are you performing as Callas, or is there a kind of, I was going to say metempsychosis, but it's interesting as to, you're performing as Marina Abramović, but in the roles that Callas excelled in, and it's a kind of both an homage and an exploration.
I am actually performing me as a Callas, and really that's the thing. And we also, there is a lot of footage that I filmed with Willem Dafoe, who is killing me over and over again, because in the mind of Callas, she's always killed by the same man. So the same man is killing me, and it's going on forever. So that's the projection. So it's a mix between video, between real acting and being before, and the music. It's very conceptual, and I hope that they will not kill me, opera lovers, after I show this. It's very, you know, this is another thing that I want to say to you, which is really important. We never talk about failure. Failure is so important, you know. I'm not afraid to fail. And because somebody said the success depends from how many failures you do with same enthusiasm. You know, the failure is how you actually can change something, how you can go to the new territory, how you can do something which nobody ever done before you, is only if you really if you take this journey, and in this journey you can fail because you don't know what is the other side, or you can succeed. So the failure is such an important part of my entire, you know, the work.
Okay, but
you don't see the failure because of course I hide it.
Well, no, but that was my question. I mean, how we judge success in the art world is quite interesting. I mean, is it the number of people who visit? Is it what the critics say? Is it the fact that institutions aren't bankrupted? I mean, how do we measure that? But give me an example or some examples of works that are, by broad consensus, we think the art world thinks is incredibly successful, that you have seen as failures.
You mean other artworks?
Your artwork?
Oh, no, mine, of course.
We'll do others in a minute, actually, yeah.
No, so I made a piece with Ulay, who very few people know because we don't put much in the books, this piece. It's called Positive Zero, which we had on the stage for the first time, Tibetan lamas from Tibet and Aborigines from Central Australia desert together on the stage, which was a very important, very huge concept to do it. But you know, during this performance, in the middle of the work on the stage, I started realizing this is the biggest bullshit I ever made in my life. And I could not get out of it because the public was there and you have to go through the whole thing. I end with a high fever temperature, being sick in bed for months. But it was so bad. It was so bad, but you could not know because, you know, in my case, I don't rehearse because rehearsal is a theater. I only have a concept and go fresh in the concept and see how far I can go. So I could not know. But during this process, it was so bad. One day I show to you.
So, I'd like to see it. So what do you learn from that?
I will do it again.
Fair enough. You 2 years ago, you published a book, Walking Through Walls, which incidentally you've signed 50 copies of and we'll sell it afterwards for those who want to buy it. And it was an incredibly candid account of your life to date, including probably the most dramatic relationship I've ever read of a female with their mother. But that's another story. How much of a rite of passage was that book for you? How much did you have to get that story fully out there before you could move to the next phase of your career, which we could perhaps describe as working fully with audiences and collaboratively?
But I was 70, and it was really important for me to write my biography till I still have the memory to remember things. And actually, the real biography is 700 pages. But of course, editors, Penguin and the Random House, they cut it to 320. So there's so much stuff is not said, and I'm thinking publishing one unedited long version. But it's very important, the dedication of this book. I dedicate book to friends and enemies. And then I discovered that I actually didn't, a very important category, I forgot, strangers. It's really important. Strangers is the ones who change your life, not friends and enemies so much. But so many enemies become friends, so many friends become enemies. It was a mess. Because I tell the truth, and lots of people don't talk to me after publishing this book.
Let's talk briefly about your mother. I think we should do that. I mean, both your parents took part in that performance and the piece that you made and won the Golden Lion for in Venice in '97, Balkan Baroque. They were communist heroes. They were Tito's heroes. You had I mean, it was a brutal relationship with both of them, a strict one, but you acknowledged sort of inspiration and rigor and education. How were they, by the end of their lives, towards your career, your success, what you had become in the world?
You mean my mother and father? Yeah. My father, I don't know. He really was not so interested in my work. He was. You know, my both parents are national heroes from the Second World War, which is very hardcore. And my mother was, for me, one of the most difficult human beings that I have to live with. I mean, she will wake me in the middle of the night if my bed is not perfectly straight because I'm sleeping too messy. And then, you know, she was cleaning banana with detergent because they come from foreign countries and the bacteria. So, and everything was about hygiene and about restrictions. And I have to be 10 o'clock in the evening home. So all my performances I have to make 5 in the afternoon. And then she find out that I'm naked, you know, and in these pieces, and then it's a mess, you know. It was very difficult. So only after I walked the Great Wall of China, when she was surrounded by journalists, and and I had a show in Pompidou. That is a funny story. I had a show in Pompidou, in Paris, and I called her and said, "Mama, do you want to come to opening?" And she said, "Are you naked?" I said, "No, I'm not." She said, "Okay, I'm coming." So she arrived, and the show opened 6 o'clock, 6:30. So I was arriving 7 o'clock, you know, a little later, and she's coming from hotel directly to Pompidou. And I arrived 6:30, 7:50 to 7, and I see my mother around all the journalists explaining everything, talking about, I was not necessary, like she was me. I was shocked.
So how was it then finally going back to Belgrade for an exhibition and the public adulation and the spirit of your late parents there in that city? How was that experience? I've not had a chance to talk to you about that since you've done it, but I've seen the images on Instagram and so on. It's phenomenal.
I left Yugoslavia in 1975. Tito was still alive, and I didn't leave for any kind of the political reasons. I left to escape my mother, basically. And I ended in Amsterdam, and then, you know, I never been invited in Belgrade ever to do anything. And the museum of Belgrade was closed. The Museum of Modern Art was closed for 10 years. Now they went to restoration, and the prime minister is a very young and very, very progressive the woman, and she's gay, and the gay is very difficult to be accepted in my country still. You know, you still have the gay parades with you know, 6 gay people marching, and something like 300 policemen keeping them safe from the rest of the public. It's basically like that. So it was difficult. And then they invite me to come. So I arrive, and I made this very large show. They literally empty entire museum for me. And it was one of the biggest shows of my life, the retrospective. And I called this all retrospective, who traveled actually to 7 different museums. This was ending the show in Belgrade, called The Cleaner. And I love the name Cleaner because I love cleaning things. I love cleaning the floors and the windows, and clean the past, and clean the memory, and clean everything. So The Cleaner was really cleaning space. And then they asked me to do lecture, and the lecture, they apply 6,500 people. So they had in the front of the museum the field. So it was like a Woodstock of art. It was unbelievable. Preparation was like rock concert, and there was total silence. And I talked to 1.5 hours. It was very emotional for me. That was very emotional.
Marina the Cleaner. It's got a lovely ring.
Cleaner is good. I love Cleaner. It's something very solid.
And you live now in New York and sometimes in New York State. Was going back to what was your original home in Belgrade, could you ever conceive of living there again? Where? In Belgrade?
Never. No, but honestly, I'm not sentimental about places. Once I leave, you know. And it's very interesting. Susan Sontag told me once when she was live, she said, you know, once you live in New York, you can't live anywhere else. It's something about the speed, about immediacy, about energy in New York, that everything else is slow motion in so many ways. So I didn't find really other place that I really want.
I like that peripatetic idea because between 1977 and 80, you and Ulay, you did you toured institutions by invitation, and sometimes you just arrive in your old Citroen police van. And you've described that in the book as amongst the happiest and most creative times of your life, but you were always on the move. That sense of the journey seemed to be the most important thing rather than actually rooting yourself anywhere.
But performance, you can't send the painting in the crate if you're a painter. But performance, you have to send yourself. So whatever you do, it's you who travel around, you know. And I see I hate the idea of studio. I think studio, I don't believe that artists have to go to studio every day. To me, it's like an employee, you know, in the bank or something. I think the idea have to come from traveling. Idea have to come from life. And then when idea comes that you want to do, then you go to studio to realize. So to me, the studio is a planet. Entire planet is actually space to work.
So you've got now the idea that New York is the place that you're rooted in for the moment. Do you have a sense of where the journey might take you to next?
Mars, of course.
There's a very good exhibition on about moving to Mars at the moment, actually, down at the Design Museum.
You know, there is a very important motto that I have to share with you. If you say no to me, it's just the beginning.
We're getting to the end, but anyway, this is the beginning of the end.
But this is not good end. Let's do something else.
No, it's not the end. No, I've got something else. No, so, okay. So where you are also moving, metaphorically, or in the journey of your career, we've talked about the audience, but you're also looking at how you can transcend or live beyond your work. So there's two areas. One is the objects you produce, and the second is digital or avatars. So let's deal with that first.
I also wanted to that somebody play my book. I would like to somebody play my life as a film.
Who's the actress?
My favorite human on the planet is Kate Blanchett, but I don't know.
Oh, she's here. So,
we didn't ask her formally.
Well,
yet.
there's witnesses if you want to put the question.
This is audience question, you mean? No, not pressure.
But the avatar and the idea of, the hologram to the avatar, that's something that you've already explored. There was a project down at the Serpentine last year. You've done a project, Anish Kapoor also did a project in this regard. Daniel Birnbaum's working. And there's something about the planet and Marina being threatened with being drowned. That technology offers you or affords you the chance to exist in a different way in the future.
Yeah, but technology is changing so much, and it's really progressing and getting better and better. And actually, you're not anymore avatar. You're yourself. And can we invite somebody to explain what actually doing, because it's so technological, and I can't. Todd, can you come explain what exactly is virtual reality? Not virtual, the augmented reality.
Todd, have
doing
my
the project.
mic.
Hi.
Came out.
This wasn't prepared. So it's not virtual reality, it's mixed reality. No, you should. I'm not going to take your chair. Are you kidding? No, it's just, it's very simple.
You have 1 minute.
Okay. It's making a representation of the entirety of Marina or anybody, but not having it be an avatar, not having it be virtual reality, having it be all of Marina, her energy, her spirit, and putting it in the room so that 100 years after she's died, you can actually feel the performance in front of you, the energy of the real person.
You see, there is a future.
And thank you for this impromptu, weird little moment.
Thank you. So, once again, the artist's inevitable and timeless quest for immortality is there. There is another area, though, and Adam Lowe's in the audience, and Factum Arte Madrid are doing extraordinary work with you where your image, and by extension, I mean, it isn't virtual reality, but it has a feeling of something living within the stone is also technologically what you're looking at.
You know, I'm very fortunate to work with Adam Löwe, who is actually inventor and and engineer, but inventor, really. You know, we start 4 years ago, and I saw Adam. Are you here somewhere?
He is, yeah. I
don't see it. Oh, Adam is right there. Anyway, so we start this process 4 or 5 years ago. Actually, even longer. I don't remember. But I came to him and I say, Adam, I like that we create something which is material and immaterial in the same time. That you see the image and form, but at the same time this image and form disappear in the front of your eyes. Can we invent something? And the second thing I say to ask him, I like to disappear in light, because I think dying is not going to darkness, it's going to light. So we start talking about these things, and we actually developing pretty close. The work is going to be presented here at Royal Academy. So this is all brand new work that we are developing. And actually after here I'm going to Madrid to work on that.
You know, I can say this because I'm leaving. I think where you are now in your career, and having worked with you and seen you developing ideas over the last 3 years, is an extraordinary phenomenon. The fact that you're pushing materially, spiritually, physically, in all sorts of different directions is remarkable. And without putting any pressure on you, I think this is going to be one of the great shows, certainly of living artists in my lifetime. No pressure, Marina. But on that note, can I thank you for the work you've done, but also for just being you, for being present tonight. Marina Abramović, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.